Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That is the praises to Allah, the guardian, evolver, cherisher, and sustainer of all of the worlds. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lahu, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Lahu mulku, lahu hamdu, yuki wa yumitu, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. That is, to him is the dominion, to him is the praise, and he has power over everything at all times. We thank Allah for blessing us to come together today for the Jumu'ah Khutbah here in Toledo, a great town, and a great town from the time of the Muslims in Andalusia, as we call it, Spain. It's a great Muslim town way back when, but if you read the history, you'll find out, that the Toledo became a city in Andalusia that deteriorated over time because of influences from the Catholics and other people. In fact, they ran the Muslims out of Spain, as you all probably know, in 1492, when they say Columbus sailed the ocean blue, you know. They ran the Muslims out, they ran the Jews out, and they call it the Inquisition. And so Muslims went to Africa, the Jews went to Africa and different places, and inshallah we will make Toledo great as it was back in the days of the Moors, our people, the Africans, along with Arabs there that established a great civilization. They call it the Golden Age of Civilization. Over 600 years of Muslims, Christians, and Jews working with one another. They had paved streets and bathhouses and books all over the place, libraries of learning, and it was a great time in the history of the world. So Toledo was a great name, and inshallah we will live up to it in this day and make it even greater than the Toledo of Andalusia, inshallah. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is basically the 5 principles that we have, and most of us know what the 5 principles are, and also speak to you about the selves of the human being. So I begin now by just giving you this particular quote. It's reported that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Buniyal al-Islamu ala khamsin." That is, the religion of al-Islam is built on 5. And so many will say, did he just come up with this arbitrarily and he decided that? No, he understood it from the content of the Qur-aan. So each pillar is mentioned and emphasized in the Qur-aan. And we know that it's reported that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught La ilaha illallah essentially for 13 years in Mecca, because he had a whole lot of idols to deal with, 360 idols. They had oatmeal gods and all of that, you know. So he kept on emphasizing to them, La ilaha illallah. So after Ikhlas apparently wasn't enough. So he had to keep on trying to pound it into the consciousness of the human beings there. And we know, so after Ikhlas, Kul huwallahu ahad, right? Allah is commanding us to say this. Say He, Allah, is one entity. Allah, and no parts. Allahu Samad. And I find it very, very beautiful and descriptive that Muhammad Assad, he doesn't translate it as the eternal, the absolute, like Yusuf Abdullah Ali translates it. He says that Allahu Samad would suggest that Allah is the uncaused cause. That's pretty clear, right? Meaning that this being, Allah, he was not caused by darkness, by time, or anything. He has just been here all of the time. And that in and of itself makes you say, wow, this is just hard to really put into our minds. I say, this being has been here all of the time, and he created these human beings for all of these systems in the body, and the sun on time every day, the moon on time, all of the time, all of this. But we have to acknowledge that this being has been here because we don't see in our mind's eye the idea of time just going back and back and back. Like, in other words, this moment right here, it'll never be again. So if you look at God and say, well, time moves this way, and you can't put it in your mind that I can recreate this moment that just happened, or this leaf that fell from this tree, I can create that exact moment with that exact leaf again, it doesn't add up in our mind's eye. So we should acknowledge and accept that this Creator, again, is the uncaused cause. Allahu Samad is how we pronounce that. If you want to do a little tajweed, you can shake the D a little bit. Allahu Samad. Shake the D. There's certain letters in the Arabic language that we shake just for, I guess, embellishing or beautifying the recitation of the Qur-aan. So Allahu Samad. I used to think a guy was showing off when he would recite this at the house, recite the Ikhlas at the house when I didn't know anything about tajweed. I said, what is this dude doing? He's showing off, talking about Allahu Samad. What is that, you know? So if you hear me do it, you'll know why. Praise be to Allah. And then we say, Lam Yalid, right? That means he did not father any children. And it's very emphatic. Lam. Lam means no, strong no, for those of us who know grammar. Lam Yalid. And then he said, wa, and wa lam yulad. That is, and he was not, again, birthed out of anything. So if he's not birthed out of anything, that means that he has been here all of the time. Tied in with the previous ayah, Allahu Samad, right? So Yulad, so beautiful. I learned this when I didn't know any Arabic. Sheikh from Ghana. He came to Detroit. And he hadn't got off the boat not too long before he got to Detroit. I met him, and he said, Yulad is what we call the fourth form passive voice. What is that? Fourth form meaning that there's some causation involved. And the passive idea of it meaning that the agent that caused this, the agent that caused it is unknown. But we know Allah is known because we see from our own self that He is known. But He's given us the yulad, the passive voice idea to let you know, and let us know, that the agent that caused me to exist, it doesn't exist. This is what He's telling you. There's no agent that caused me to be in existence. And He says, lam in front of that. Lam yulad. Nothing fathered me or birthed me or mothered me into existence. And then the last ayah, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there's nothing, not a thing like Him or comparable to Him. So that knocks out Jesus, knocks out us, knocks out everybody as being, like Him, right? Praise be to Allah. But in the psyche of the human being, as we know, we have the idea of wanting to see this God in a physical manifestation. So we see ourselves as human beings being the wisest thing around, from what we see. So sometimes people have a tendency to say that God has a physical person too. And so Moses asked God to show Himself in the public, right? In Surah 7, verse 143. And Allah's clear response to him was, as you probably heard me say before, Lan tarani. You'll never see me in the public, right? But He said, but look to the mountain. And if it remains firm in its place, you'll see me. So that couldn't be double talk from Allah, right? He's not a slickster. So He's telling us, I believe, Muslims, that if you look to your mountain of faith, your soul within, and it remains on the Siratul Mustaqim, you'll see God in your mind's eye. You'll feel God in your actions and your activities if you and I are on the Siratul Mustaqim. We may fall off sometime, but we know too that when we are on it, and we know we're on it, we see God's actions helping us and guiding us and protecting us and so on and so forth. Praise be to Allah. So when I decided to do this particular topic, I don't like to be a negative person, but I see that there's some plot going on in regard to what is pure Islam and what is not. So opened up my computer and went to some topics on the pillars. And it says whether one is, follow this, whether one is Sunni or Shiite Muslim, the 5 pillars of al-Islam are the same. We can acknowledge that. Faith, witness, the God is one, and prophet is the messenger. Zakat, fasting, and the pilgrimage. That's what they are, right? But then this is the killer statement here. These pillars come from the Qur-aan, but are not well defined therein. It is in the Hadith literature that the 5 pillars are fully defined and detailed. So that's saying to you and I, God failed to be detailed in the book. And we can't buy that as Muslims. God has detailed what these pillars are in the Quran. The Salah itself, derivatives of that particular root, Salah wa, Sod, Lamb, and Wow, appears over 90 times in the Quran. You see? So God is giving us a command right in the Quran, right? Akimu Salah, establish Salah, right? First of all, La ilaha illallah, right? And he makes it very emphatic. Allah, he could have said, La ilaha illallah. Nope, but he put a fatha on that H. La ilaha. You've heard me say this before, some of you. Like a hatchet, cutting off that little deity. It doesn't exist. So this la, this no that's before Ilah is what we call the la or the no of absolute negation of the existence of the noun that come after it. And that noun is ilahun. Grammatically speaking, it would have been ilahun, put an on the end of it. But no, Allah, he flipped the script, so to speak, and put a fatha, slash mark over the top. La ilaha. When you call the adhan, you have to stop right there. You can't make it long. La ilaha. Nope. You're defeating the purpose of the fatha being on that H, you see. Same way with Dhalikal Kitabu La Rayba. You say La Rayba, that's not getting it, you see. So this is a very powerful tool that Allah uses. Continuing on. Allah reveals, Bada'ul samawati wal ardi wa idha qada amran fa innama yaqulu lahu kun fayakun. Translated, Allah is the originator of the heavens and the earth. And when he decrees a matter, he only says to it, kun fayakun, be, and it is. It's almost like the Muslims, when they hear that, they just love it. Every time I used to teach Arabic, I said, kun fayakun. A lot of them already know what it means already, you know. But just the power of that one kun, be. And the Quran says that by one single decree, the whole creation unfolded. Could you imagine being a person that you got a plan and you say, boom, and the plan just unfolds and just does its thing. And the black holes be coming out and the planets start forming and the sun start forming and all of that. He only did it one time, is what the Quran said. So that's a powerful being that we are in submission to, inshallah. Very powerful being. Praise be to Allah. So, as I mentioned, Muhammad Assad said that Allahu Samad is the uncaused cause. But I like to add that he's the only uncaused cause. So when I do my translation, I put only in there, you see, to even add to what he has said. Because somebody else might accuse themselves of being the uncaused cause. You can say, well, I'm an uncaused cause. He's an uncaused cause. Nope. Allah is saying, I am the only one that have or has that particular property. So, continuing on, Allah reveals, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Successful indeed are the believers. So a believer is one who has faith, right? Who has trust, and who believes in that uncaused cause, right? And then the next ayah after that, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who are praying humbly and submissive is a part of that group that are successful, that reaches a state of falah, which is success. When the brother called the adhan, he said, Hayya ala salah, that is, life is upon salah. Hayya ala falah, and life is upon the cultivation of the intellect, but also the cultivation of this earth. Get some of that gold, some of them diamonds, and some of those corn and fruit and all of these beautiful things that Allah has put in the earth. And not only in the earth, He put it in the oceans too, right? So there's a whole world up under that ocean that we haven't even seen. Some of it is so deep down up in there, we can't even go down there because of the pressure, right? So Allah has a vast creation of stuff that He's created. And the beautiful thing about it is He's created for our use, right? He tells us over and over again in Ar-Rahman about all the stuff that He has given us. And He asks the question over and over again, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Then which of the favors of you two's Lord will you deny? So I said you two, you notice. So who's that two that He's talking about? He's talking about the male and female? Nope. He's talking about the jinn and the human beings. So obviously God is telling us that the jinn has some ability to deny or be regardful and appreciative of the many favors that He has bestowed upon us. Praise be to Allah. Then that particular series of ayahs goes on to say, الَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. And those, they are in respect to giving, using zakat, they are fa'ilun, they are doers of zakat. The active participle fa'ilun, the plural. So if you and I want to be a part of that group that are successful, we must be engaged in zakat, giving of ourselves, even if it's just assalamu alaikum. And this is one of the main things, I believe, that African Americans suffer from. We don't have enough collective capital. You know, a lot of times the immigrants come over here for the sole purpose of doing what? Getting some money. They become doctors, they become lawyers, they become electricians, and so on and so forth, right? But they have help. They have people that pool their resources together. They live sometimes, they say, 10 of them in one house, you know, with the hope in the future that we're going to get it. We're going to get our share. So even in Detroit, Michigan, right here, Dearborn, I remember it was very few Arabs over in Dearborn. They would come over and now the mayor of the town is an Arab, you see? So we as African Americans, we got to spend more time pooling our resources together and finding out, right, what skills are amongst us. I know I'm looking at an electrician right now, a builder right now. He should be living pretty good if all of the Muslims came together and say, I want him to do this, I want him to do that, you know. We got roofers, we got all kinds of skills, but what happens a lot of times? Take your skills to General Motors and Chrysler and all that and have them benefit from your labor, you know. So we got to really focus on us getting some money. You know, that's bottom line. We want to be spiritual and developed and pious and all of that, but we need to come together. Not only just African Americans, but there must be a marriage between anyone who professes that they are Muslim, they have an obligation to give zakat to help bring up the society as a whole, So zakat is very, very important, very, very important. Then after giving zakat, then we have the institution of fasting. You can't fast if you don't have no money. If you don't have no money to eat, you fasted already. You see? So that's why we got it in that order. Get some money, and then you can fast. Then you can hold back, and you can help the poor and the miskin and the society in general, right? Praise be to Allah. And I missed the verse that says it before the verse 4. Verse 3 says, whom unallegedly mu'ridun. And there are a lot of translations of these different ayahs. And I would encourage you to get yourself about 5 or 6 Qur'ans. Well, if you don't have the money to get the 5 or 6 Qur'ans or whatever, you can go right to Qur'an Corpus on the internet. I don't know if you all know about that. Qur'an Corpus, C-O-R-P-U-S. And they give you the whole Qur'an. They give you about 7 or 8 translators of each verse. And you can find, well, he's saying this, and another one is saying this. What should I choose? You don't know until you start studying this language for yourself. That's bad right there. I'm going to have to eliminate that word. I got to add another one. Or take this one out and grab some of this translation from another translation and try to make it whole so it's clear and understood by the people. So one of the translators I thought was very interesting. He translated that as, and those who turn away from dirty, false, evil, vain talk, falsehood, and all that Allah has forbidden. And I add, turn away from wasting your time. Turn away from wasting your time. That's part of what Legwe would suggest. Vain talk, that's wasting your time. Talking about what happened on As the World Turns. One of them soap operas that's been running. I don't know if it's still running now, but they got a lot of different, soap operas. And I found it very interesting. The Imam called the soap operas Lies and Animal Fat. You follow that? Soap is made out of lie, L-Y-E, and fat from the pig or whatever. So he's saying, no, but lies and animal fat. So animal fat, it's not too much use for it unless a pig eater where you like to put that fat back to say it in the soup or whatever, And you certainly don't want no lies. And if you get L-Y-E in your eyes, you can have some trouble. Back when I was coming up, you always told you close your eyes when you wash your face, But they developed the soap, right? Now you can put soap on your eye, it don't really burn. But back in the day, your eyes would burn. And I'm sure I see some of the brothers smile because they know that's true, And I don't know at what point did it stop where it wasn't burning, but gradually we come to know that this stuff ain't gonna burn my eyes. I'm okay. All right. So, and then the other verse says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. And those, they, in respect to their openings, they are protectors, hafidun. Just like a hafiz of the Quran, you and I have to protect our openings. And when we're talking about openings, that's a vast idea. A lot of the translators you protect your sexual desires. Don't put your sexual desires into unlawful activities. But it's more broader than that. Protect any openings that you could be vulnerable to. The eye is opening. So you got to watch what your eyes see, right? Your nose is open. You got to watch what goes into your nose, what you sniff, what you smell, right? So all of the openings, Allah is telling us we should be protectors of them. Hafidun, that's the plural. Praise be to Allah. So we have to protect our material desires and all aspects of the life. We should be on guard and protect ourselves from deviation, inshallah. And speaking of the fasting, we know the ayah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. That is, all you who believe. And know that God has given you and I a double vocative. What is a vocative? A double call. That's what it is. If someone is getting out of here and you want to catch him real quick, yeah, Michael! You tell him, hey, stop, I got something to tell you. But then he give him, if he doesn't respond, you say, yeah, I knew how Michael. Like a double call. This is what God has given us in this vocative, these two double vocatives, as we call them in English language. Vocal, highly vocal, okay? That's what a vocative would indicate. Praise be to Allah. So God is telling you and I, all you who have faith, all you who claim y'all believe in La ilaha illallah. He says, he has prescribed, it is prescribed. He didn't say he did it. Kutiba means it is prescribed. The God's not saying I'm the one that did it. But we know that it's already prescribed because he clocked it into our bodies and our natures when we were created. So it's not a situation where all of a sudden God said, I'm going to start having these Muslims fast. Right? But it's clear that it's in your nature to fast, and the people before the Muslims, they fasted too. That's the way the verse reads. Like what was prescribed upon those before you, and the reason why we fast, la'allakum tattaqun, right? In order that you all of us, will gain more reverence and regard for God, right? Plain and simple. So when we say regard for God, we don't just mean just from the moral standpoint, following the edicts and the laws. We mean also that we use ourselves and our skills and our knowledge and whatnot. And that's a form of worshiping God and having taqwa for God also, right? The idea of using your skills and your abilities. God didn't create you to just be like a plant and don't move. You should be moving. We should be growing. The plant grows. In fact, if we were to just sit down and not move, we'd just get fatter and fatter and fatter. We just all we did was eat, you see. So God wants us to be moving. He wants us to move out. And then he tells us, if you don't go forth, he tells the believers in Surah 9, I will punish you with a grievous penalty. Imagine that. God telling you say you have faith. If you don't go forth in this cause, I'm going to punish you with a grievous penalty. That's the only verse in the Qur''an where I know that Allah tells us straight up that he will punish the mu'min, the believer, mu'minun, if they don't go forth in the cause. All right? Praise be to Allah. So we see clearly that kutiba is used to let you know, again, that it is within your nature to fast. Some have a hard time doing it. Some of us don't. Some have, metabolism issues. They say, well, my head hurt, my stomach hurt, blah, 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 But make the supreme effort to do it. And Allah says, In kuntum ta'lamun, it would be better for you if you only but knew. All right? Praise be to Allah. So, let me continue here. We want to talk briefly about the commanding self. And I'm just going to read the verse real quickly. I see the time is moving pretty fast. وَمَا أُبَارِئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي إِنَّ رَبِّي غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Translated, this is the words of Yusuf. This is my belief that it's the words of Yusuf. And it's the words of Yusuf according to some of the translators. But some of the translators say that these are the words of Zuleika, the one that was chasing Yusuf, wanting him to have some intercourse with her. So I said, how could they attribute that to Zuleika? She was not, from what we see, a person of faith. So this is Yusuf, the man of faith, declaring to God, I don't absolve my own self of blame. The human soul is certainly prone to evil, unless my Lord do bestow his mercy. But surely my Lord is all forgiving, most merciful. This is Yusuf talking. I'm looking on the internet, they said that some of the commentators say, no, that's the continuation of what Zuleika said, you know. And then they use a very derogatory word to say that the snare of women is very, very treacherous, that's the term you might want to use. Instead of you translating the word kaidon as plan, a wicked plan of a person who is trying to get you to do something that's not right. But they're going to call the woman a snare, you know. You know, like you have a plant that eats things, but just gotta look like let's say like a spider's web. That's a snare. It's a trick, right? Little vibration go in there, bug it up, and I got a bait now. You know, that's how the spider operates, right? He's hidden in the corner somewhere. Shake a little bit, boom! I'm gonna suck the blood out of this one. You see, so I'm suggesting to you that those commentators that call the woman's sexual desires a snare is being unjust, because men have snares too. Men use their minds and their attractions, whatever thing they do, to acquire a woman. So I'm just suggesting to you that snare is not the best word to use there. So I try and see it as this is what Zuleika said. This say I, in order that he may know. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The lady said, Allah preserve us. No evil know we against him. You see, the women said, we don't know no bad on Yusuf. Said the Aziz's wife. Now is the truth manifest to all. It was I who sought to seduce him from his true self. He is indeed of those who are ever true and virtuous. And the next ayah this is Yusuf talking. This guy, in order that he may know that I have never been false to him. I wasn't false to the king in his absence. When his wife was there, I wasn't false to him. And that Allah will never guide the plan of the betrayers of trust. But he has it in the Yusuf Ali translation, the snare of the women. The plan, the snare of the women. And I categorically disagree with that. I think you would too. Because it's a two-way street, you know, many times. Though most of the time the man is doing the raping and the force and the compelling, right? There's a lot of us in jail right now because of that. You don't hear too many women going to jail for raping no man, do you? Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. So this self that Yusuf is talking about, I had desire for a woman. I'm a human being. I had desire for her. If it wasn't for the presence of God, I may have succumbed to my commanding nature that God has put in me, my desire to want to have sex, my desire to have food, all of that. All of that is included in this commanding self that Allah is talking about that we have. The command to say, well, I got to get some water. You know, I got to eat. This is commanding you, whether you want to do it or not. You have people go to prison and they may not eat for a few days, but eventually they're going to have to eat. But what's going to happen? They die, right? You see? So this is the commanding self that is within all of us. Okay, so let me move on. Now I'm talking about the self-accusing self that we have. Do something wrong. Man, I know I shouldn't have done that. I feel bad about that. Feel bad about it for days and years and weeks, you know. That's the self to tell you. that I got a moral nature. I got a standard I'm supposed to be living up to. You see? And you hear people all the time say, man, this kind of stuff I did, I know I shouldn't have did that. Either they talk to themselves or they talk to others about what they did or what we do. You see? And some of us will just keep it to ourselves and say, well, I don't want to weaken the brother or the sister for some crazy stuff I did, so I'm just keeping it between me and Allah, and I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. I'm not going to set a bad example. I had a friend of mine who used to come to tell me, yeah, Siddeeq, I got to go on back down south. I've been on that bud too long, man. Why you want to tell me that? I don't need to hear that. Just go on down south and get it together, you know what I'm saying? I can't stop you from smoking weed, you know? It's all over the place now because it's medicine marijuana. They got what they call it recreational marijuana places now. You just walk on in and get it, right? The government is making money off of this, right? Okay. La uqsimu biyawmil qiyamah. That is in the Surah 75, verse 1. This is Allah. I swear by the day of the standing. Some of them translate the day of the resurrection. The standing before God. Standing in the body? I don't think so. Having the record standing before Allah, that's a better picture. And that's a non-physical thing, isn't it? The record. What you did all of your whole life, you know. But some of us want to believe that somehow this face that you have and all of that is going to come up out of that cement casket with the cement over the top of it and stand before God. And here's the body got disease and everything, and the kidneys, failed, and everything is gone. So we want to see God in a practical way. And we're sitting here today, Good Friday, right? To the Christians, right? And I say it's a bad Friday if a man got murdered unjustly. That's a bad day for that man, right? But anyway, we know in the Surah 4, verse 157, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you know that, but God makes it very clear in Surah 4, verse 157, they killed him, they crucified him not, nor did they kill him. This is what God telling us about Jesus. He didn't have that fate that they talk about. So without that, the whole foundations of the Resurrection Sunday goes out the window, right? But isn't it a blessing that we know that Allah has made it clear to us that our brother Isa ibn Maryam did not have that fate of being crucified on the cross? You know, the Christians say he carried that old rugged cross up Mount Calvary and he opened not his mouth. Like, he said nothing, just kill me, y'all. And then help him, kill him, you know. He gonna carry the whole cross. But your nature tell you that they get ready to kill me, but I'm gonna help them take me up to Mount Calvary, you know. It just don't add up, right? Even a roach, you go get after a roach, he's trying to get out of there. I don't want to die, right? So it's improving the nature of the human being. If he's right, he and she wants to live. And then you all know that if they say he died between 12 and 3 this day, you know, they used to close up everything 12 to 3. I don't know if the young people know about that. It was a time when you couldn't get nothing from 12 to 3 out there in the world. Am I right? People know that. But now, you know, no problem. 12 o'clock, wherever, you can go get whatever you want from the stores and whatnot, you know. So how can you get 3 days and 3 nights to Sunday morning? You got Friday night, Saturday night. That's 2 nights. And they say he rose Sunday morning. That's not 3. And why am I talking about the 3? Because it says that as Jonah was in the belly of the whale, this is Bible now, for 3 days, so shall the Son of Man be in the death mode for 3 days, and he rose up again. This is the logic of the Christian doctrine, what I'm telling you right now. I've never been a Christian, but after I became a Muslim, I started reading what the Christians believe so that I can understand and have some ammunition, right? To bring them to Al-Islam. So I'd encourage you, as I encourage myself, to be a student of the Bible. Because you need to know what they believe and why they believe it. You know? Praise be to Allah. So the next ayah says, وَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالنَّفْسِ الْلَوَّامَةِ. Lawama is that blaming part of you that blames you and criticizes you and analyzes you and I when we do something wrong. So we're fasting this whole month of Ramadan. I'm trying to capsulize it now. We're fasting this whole month of Ramadan so that we can do what? Get our animal self in check. Get our sexual thing in check. Get our food thing in check. Get our spirits more in terms of trying to give and share and help people. That's all of what we're doing during this month of Ramadan. And once the blaming self, once that blaming self within us know what we should be doing, and it takes control of the animal self, right? It takes control of it. See, I know I can eat that cookie over there, but I'm not going to eat it, right? I know that I could have intercourse in the daytime right here, but I'm not going to do it. You see, this is when this blaming self said, God tell me don't do that, so I'm not going to do it, you see. And once that self, that blaming self, the intellectual blaming self, and our spiritual self too, wrapped up in that, puts the checks on the animal self, we reach a state of nafsul mutma'inna. And that's in the Qur-aan too. And some of you heard me do this clip out before, and I'm not the only one that's saying this. Other people understand this, like myself. It says, I'll just read the English. Come back. This is in the Surah 89, Fajr, verses Irji'i ila rabbika radiyatan mardiya. The last verses from 27, I believe, to the end of it, Surah 30. And let me go back one verse. Ya ayatuha nafsul mutma'inna. That's the verse. Using yeah again. I want you to listen. Yeah, right? Ayatuha. Now he's giving you the feminine. Instead of ayyuha, he says ayatuha. You see? Why is he using the feminine? Because the soul is a feminine word. Nafsul wahida is a feminine word. So Allah is precise in his grammar too. Yeah, ayatuha. So you can say that. The female that's running out and you want to get her attention. Yeah, ayatuha. So if a man going out too and a woman going out, and the woman know Arabic, he's talking to me. He's not talking to the man. You follow the logic of what I'm saying there? Okay, all right. So God is saying, oh soul that is at complete rest. In other words, you got your intellectual, spiritual self that's controlling the animal selves to some degree, and then you reach a state of submission and peace and rest. This is what Allah is talking about. So you and I can realize this Jannah while we're living. We can live some semblance of Jannah right here. So God says in the next ayah, Irji'i ila rabbika radiyatan mardiya. Come back to thy Rabb, to thy Lord, well pleased with thyself, and well pleasing unto him, unto Allah, right? And then, after that state is existing, enter thou then among my devotees. فَكُلِّ فِي إِبَادِي وَكُلِّ جَنَّتِي. Yea, yes, enter thou, or enter you, my heaven. So, real quickly, we talk about the 3-in-1 idea. They say that human beings are mind, body, and spirit. That's 3, right? But I'm looking at the Qur'an, where Allah reveals, Subhana alladhi khalaqa azwaja kullaha mimma tunbitu al-ardu wa min anfusihim wa mimma la ya'lamun. Glory to Allah. I hope y'all following this. I'm long today. Glory to Allah who created in pairs all things that the earth produces, as well as their own humankind and other things of which they have no knowledge. In other words, God said, I got pairs out there that y'all don't even know about. Stuff y'all don't even know about, these pairs that I got out here. So right away, Allah's telling you and I that homosexuality is knocked off. A man is not a pair for another man, and a female is not a pair for another female, right? He's making that clear, right? In this idea of Zawjain, God says He's created everything in pairs, right? So I'm saying to you that we essentially have two selves, and when they come together, we reach that state of peace, and we have a semblance of feeling that we are one with God, though we know that we can never be one with God. And you have some people that have the mind that you can just go through a period of self-annihilation where you just merge into being God Himself. You got people with this ideology out there. Some of the Sufis got this kind of mind, you know. But we can never be one with God because God is all alone by Himself. We already said that. He's Tawheed. He stands alone, right? That state of oneness. So I'm suggesting to you the two selves, the animal self and the spiritual intellectual self. As they get in control of that animal passion that God has given all of us, we reach this state of al-mutmainna, a state of peace and rest. And we feel good about ourselves. And also we know that God is pleased too. So when you do something good, you figure, God is pleased with that. That was a pure good deed I did. I didn't do it just to be seen of men or anything. I felt good when I did it, and I thank God for it. I went to the post office the other day. I'm closing. And a lady, Caucasian lady, she opened the door for me. And she opened the door and gave me a $15 Kroger gift certificate. It had on there, Happy Easter, and let Jesus in. That's what she said on the little note that she had. Let Jesus in. And I don't know if you know it or not, Christians have a very good habit of just doing random giving to people. Don't know the person. She didn't say a mumbling word. The whole time the lady didn't say nothing. And I didn't know what she gave me. I kept walking. And then, hey, this is some money. I thought it might have been, some tract or something, or some, information like that. But she gave me $15. She said, praise be to Allah. So when I went out, I saw she was still in her car. And I just, like that, So I'm just saying that although the Christians got a bad ideology, some of them are some good people. And Allah tells us about that in the Qur''an. That some Christians are very good, and they have hearts of gold, many of them. They got Salvation Army, Purple Heart, and all of these things. The Muslims should be about that too. In fact, the Saudi Arabian government, they should be the leaders. The Kuwait should be the leaders in giving zakat, helping all of these, bad situations, tornadoes, and all of this, But inshallah, we, the Muslims of today, will live up to what we need to live up to in terms of giving and helping one another and pooling our resources together. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Our Lord, cause not our hearts to swerve and deviate after you guided us aright, but bestow upon us mercy from your presence, for surely you are the grandest of the givers. اللهم نستعينك ونستغفرك ونؤمن بك ونتوكل عليك ونثني عليك الخير ونشكرك ولا نشكرك. Oh Allah, we ask for your help, we seek your forgiveness, we believe in you, and we trust in you, and we extol and exalt you in the best manner, and we are not ungrateful. Praise be to Allah. So in concluding, inshallah, I intend to be here next week, God willing, and I wanted to talk to you about a verse 7 of chapter 3. a very, very important verse to understand. So get your Qur'ans out and look at all these translators out there that's translating this verse. And I've already done it, and I got it in a book that I'm writing. But I can tell you that only 2 translators of this verse that I have read translates it the way I think it should be. And I think you would agree that it should be translated where the period is not after Allah in the verse. So let me just read it in the translation mode that I see it in, and then I'm going to close and then talk about it next week, inshallah. Inshallah. No, I don't have it here right now. But what I'll do is just read the translation by Amatul Rahman Omar and Abdul Manan Omar. This is a husband and wife team. They're living today. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Their son, Hibi Omar, is living today. It was explained by, I believe, their grandfather or somebody in their family. His name was Allama Nuruddin. You can get it on the internet. And they call it the Holy Qur'an as explained by Allama Nuruddin, rendered into English by Matul Rahman Omar and Abdul Manan Omar. And here's how he translates the verse. Follow me and I'll be closing. He it is, talking about Allah, who has revealed to you this perfect book. Some of its verses are definite and decisive. The Muhammad is how they translate that. They are the basic root conveying the established meaning of the book, of the Quran. And other verses are susceptible to various interpretations. In other words, there's a lot of views on these verses, and many of them are correct, but depending on what angle you see it from and how Allah bless you to understand it. As for those in whose heart is Zaygun, follow the verses that are susceptible to different interpretations. Zaygun is deviation, who got in their heart the desire to deviate, you know. Seeking to cause fitna, dissension, and seeking an interpretation of their own choice, like at random, not no real study and checking out what Allah is saying in other ayahs and stuff like this. And seeking, again, an interpretation of their own choice. But no one knows its true interpretation except Allah. They put a period, most of the commentators, right after Allah, they put a period. But he doesn't put a period. Except Allah and those who are firmly grounded in knowledge. The Rasikun. Allah is telling you and I that if you firmly grounded in knowledge, meaning you study, and you got some taqwa and some real sincerity, and you don't have desire to cause dissension and problems, you can understand the allegorical verses. Then it goes on, after you put that period out there, and those who are firmly grounded in knowledge, period, they say, that is, those who are firmly grounded in knowledge, they say, we believe in it. It is all the basic and decisive verses as well as the allegorical ones from our Lord, from our Ra. And none takes heed except those with pure, sincere, clear understanding. And that word that's used is the ulul al-babi. Some people mistranslate, say the people of the door. The door, Allah opened the door. And he did open the door, but the word is coming from a root called labbas, a different root altogether, but that's another story. So many Muslims take to mind that the only person who can understand that these verses that are mystical and whatnot is Allah himself. Right? Do that make sense that Allah would reveal a book and say, I'm going to reveal a book and none of these subjects I got are going to understand it? It doesn't make sense that God would do that. So I'm wondering, why would these translators say that nobody understands about Allah? But Allah is telling you, why? And the Rasikun. So there's some kind of established order they try to establish, say, You peons, you masters, y'all shouldn't try to understand it. Just leave it for me to understand. They do tafsir on the verses, right? The people call themselves scholars, they do tafsir, right? They explain stuff that we see as being mystical and metaphorical and all of that. But I think that what has happened with the Muslim world, that the common people, their minds have been frozen by putting that period after Allah, thinking that I should just leave the metaphors alone. And there's many metaphors you look at, I don't understand them, and I'm still wrestling trying to understand some. But some of them we can understand. That's all I'm saying to you. I'm not trying to, cause any fit or anything like that. Just simply letting you know that it's a question of where you put the period at in the verses. And 8 translators that I've looked at recently, they put a period after Allah instead of continuing and using the wa to go on into the other part, the ra sikun. I hope I said something of value to you, and I extend the warmest of greeting from the core of my heart, Ramadan Mubarak. And I said the core of my heart because in Arabic idiom, I read it, says that I love you from the core of my heart. So that's right there, like in the middle of it, in the real essence of it, right? Where we say in English, I love you from the bottom of my heart. That's almost out of the heart. We're talking on the bottom, So that's just a little thing I just put in the mind. So, La yazalullahu muksinan ilaykum. That is, may God never stop being muksin to you all, being a good doer to you all. Imagine you got God on your side and he's an active doer of good to you. That's where we want to be. Give me good, Allah. Give me good. Rabbana atmim lana nurana waghfir lana innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. Our Lord, complete our life for us. Forgive us. For surely you have power over all things at all times. Ameen. We come.
Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Rasulullah. Hayya al-salah, hayya al-salah. Hayya al-falah, hayya al-falah. Come to salah, come to salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الله لا إله الله لا إله إلا هو لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ ربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر 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 السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله supposed to say Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, and I was thinking about something else and I slipped that. So Allah is the self-subsisting, ever-living God. That's the first part of that ayatul kursi. So pardon me for that mistake. Thinking about what other ayah I was going to recite, and kind of thrown off there for a moment. Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! So, real quick, inshallah, we have a POS system in the front, and we have a box in the side as well as in the front. You know, and your donation is what helps us keep our programs running. So we're looking, if you can, to please donate in the front or wherever you can. You know, we provide food to the community through our pantry. We run programs to try to help, you know, get the kids off the street and get certain supplies to people who need it. We help people move around if they need help to move. And a lot of these programs that we have is funded by the donations that is given by the members of Imam. So if you can, again, we have a POS system in the front to help to fund those programs and keep those programs going so we can continue to help the community and have the programs grow, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. We're still selling a true soap detergent, liquid detergent from the masjid. This one is $16.99. This is the largest size. So this is true, our own personal, not our own personal, our own community brand detergent. Alhamdulillah. Rabbil Alameen. On sale now. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak.
Things been? I rode past stuff I got to smoke back. Stuff. Yeah. I didn't get over there. I heard the brakes on bus, but they didn't go down. I need to go to Florida next week. I'll probably be down about 2 months. My mom is from Birmingham, and my dad is from Gaston. I might stop at that because I gotta go to there. I might stop out and see some of my people. See if they try to Florida for the rest of the way. Drive straight. Things like that.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We're concluding the khutbah for today, and pardon me for going a little overtime there. I made a slight mistake on Ayatul Kursi, thinking about what ayah was going to say in the second rak'ah. Many words, Allahu la ilaha huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ilaha huwa qayyum, huwa al-qayyum, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum.
I know you.